I'll admit that I bought Minit on a whim. I had an afternoon to kill and was intrigued by the premise, but I expected to find the 60-second mechanic frustrating. Instead, I found myself charmed by the modernised Game Boy era pixel graphics and a strong sense of humour. I especially enjoyed the character who exists purely to mock how players leave the game world in peril, so they can complete a variety of mini-games and side quests. The game has also clearly been partly inspired by the Legend of Zelda series, which is always a quick way into my heart, demonstrated by how its opening sequence is very reminiscent to the opening sections of Link's Awakening. Minit's major achievement, however, is how well its 60-second run mechanic is implemented. If you didn't know, Minit gets its name from its focal mechanic. Gameplay is divided into 60-second runs, at the end of which you die, respawning at the last checkpoint. The idea is to complete the game in the lowest number of runs possible. This creates a unique playstyle that manages to be both challenging and fascinating at the same time. You learn how to plan your runs, deciding whether to tackle a new puzzle or explore the world, and how to manipulate the time constraint to complete tasks. Finishing the game unlocks new modes that further this challenge. What I really wasn't expecting from Minit was its story and the message it held. Upcoming spoilers for Minit, obviously. The plot of Minit goes like this. Once upon a time, a crocodile-like being found a cool sword on the beach, only to discover that the sword had cursed him to die at the end of every minute. Urged on by an employee of the factory, our hero travels across the world, assisting the other creatures they encounter to discover the cause of this curse. After infiltrating the factory, our hero discovers that the owner has built a new sword production machine. He also doesn't care about the curses the machine imbues the new swords with. Destroying the machine transforms the owner into a sword-based monster. Upon defeating this monster, our hero is free of the curse and throws the sword in the toilet, the safest way to dispose of any cursed object. At a glance, Minit appears to have a simple story. Due to the limits of the mechanic, there can't be any flashy cutscenes or lengthy dialogue exchanges. Yet, through the use of clever storytelling techniques, Minit portrays a compelling message about overproduction and the effects it has on the environment. When you arrive at the factory, the receptionist directs you to the packed waiting room. Here you discover that your sword might not be the only cursed item the factory has created. Snippets of dialogue reveal that the factory has been ignoring any and all complaints, instead choosing to leave the creatures unheard and in a room with a plant which, for some reason, explodes. Both your and their problems stem from the owner and his new sword production machine. In his desire to make more money, the owner created the machine to produce the swords at a faster rate. The swords are, in fact, being overproduced, and the curse is a byproduct of this new machine and whatever magic was used to create it. I say magic because, after destroying the machine, you release a force trapped within its metal gears, which transforms the owner into a snowflake sword hybrid monster thing. This new form is a representation of the owner's greed and the object he used to satisfy it with. Once the owner is defeated, the curse leaves the sword and, presumably, the other items as well, freeing the land from the ill effects of the factory. Still, the machine and the swords it created demonstrate how the overproduction of certain commodities can have a negative effect on the people using them. Minit also utilises both visual and interactive storytelling to portray how the factory is polluting the land surrounding it. Depending on the approach you take with the game, the first appearance of this pollution will be the river. The flippers give you the ability to swim in any body of water you choose, and the first place you are likely to explore will be the river. You will quickly learn that attempting to swim in these waters will inflict damage upon your crocodile-like buddy. Swimming in the sea or even the sewer doesn't hurt you at all, well apart from the sharks. So what's different about the river? It's because the factory has been polluting it by dumping barrels of toxic waste into its waters. You can find these barrels floating down its banks, and the frog sitting by the bridge or in the motel informs you that it's planning to sue the factory for destroying its home. The river portrays the negative effects of this pollution by having it physically impact the player, while also providing hints at what might be its cause. This, however, is neither the only nor the best way the creators of Minit chose to portray this message. If you talk to the lumberjack who works with the famous sign maker, you'll learn about the Oasis Ghost. After travelling through the desert, going straight south, Lumberjack Dude clearly didn't look very far, you will come across the oasis with some familiar-looking barrels in its centre. The ghost will make itself known shortly after your arrival, but what's interesting is how its reaction to you changes depending on what item you're holding. If it's a sword, then the ghost will attack you, throwing knife after knife in an attempt to keep its home safe. Yet, if you're holding the watering can, the ghost will be friendly and happily sit in the middle of its oasis. These interactions allow us to piece together a small story, one that is supported by the factory entrance to the desert and the ruined van that lies close to it. Judging by the ghost's reaction to the sword, it seems like factory workers holding similar weapons came to the oasis and dumped the barrels of waste there. This act angered the ghost who attacked them, and this led to the factory dumping the barrels into the river instead. When the ghost sees your sword, it naturally assumes that you are also from the factory and have come to cause more destruction. In this way, the oasis ghost can be interpreted as a personification of the environment the factory is polluting, its actions demonstrating how the game world is fighting against the damage that has been inflicted upon it. Minit successfully portrays an environmental message, warning about the dangers of overproduction and the pollution it causes, conveyed through snippets of dialogue and interactions within the game world and its inhabitants. There is also an element of hope, a belief that these problems can be combated, represented by the destruction of the sword machine. Yet, at its heart, Minit is a cautionary tale about picking up odd items you find on the beach. Thank you for watching my first YouTube video. This was all quite new and I was quite nervous about uploading this. I do have a blog where you can find general video game reviews. The link is in the description. Feel free to do the liking, subscribing and bell ringing if you enjoyed the video, the opposite if you didn't. See you later.